Okay, this is And the TV Said by me, Joshua. I drink so I can cry. He doesn't hesitate. I drink for existence. He drank. I cried. We sat on mattresses without box springs or on 5-gallon buckets turned to chairs. Outside the sun shined and children played on warmed asphalt. Hearing squeals and fits of laughter, I imagined their distorted images rummaging through streets, playgrounds, and unkept lawns. Beneath those lawns, we stayed, in a damp basement called home. A single fluorescent light lit our room, resting alone on a rusted metal chain. Old hand-drawn images splattered themselves against our boundaries. I had never seen mountains. He never saw an ocean. We dreamed of something different. Born in the flattest tract of land, commodity crops surrounded us on all sides. He said he would take me away from this, our fertile desert, away to a place where water drapes over the horizon or mountains erase the sky. So we drew beaches with sandcastles alongside great, rugged mountains. Their silhouettes showcased against our walls, attempting to reaffirm our belief in a world we had long since forgotten. Placed as the main event, the TV screamed, "Bigger, badder, and more you than ever," while dramatic music played as an oversized truck proved its superiority over nature, or else fake breasts sold as life insurance. My eyes stayed focused on my right hand, where tears puddled in my palm. They sporadically flew off from a soft shake that hadn't calmed in years. I could still remember my hand holding still and tears with no need to fall. He would hold my hand through aisles of canned goods and sugar cereal, but also at home. During a movie or after sex, when his rugged appearance was shed and Bear stood in his place. He'd run a finger across my chest and rest in the space in between my ribs. Bear told me Eve was made out of Adam's rib, but if God had any sense, he would have made her from mine. I'd always liked the low rumble of his voice, like a quake on a warm California day. I called him Bear, said he belonged to the mountains and could shake the earth's foundation, though doubt now flooded over like the river in spring. His mystery had long since evaporated, along with the days lived with any form of anticipation. His eyes, now always inches from a screen, scanning over the digital world, desperately clamoring for his attention. He alternated drinking from the empty and half-empty beer cans sprawled out alongside him. History repeats, don't ever forget. His eyes intent on the screen, no telling if he meant it for me. You mean yesterday is today, and tomorrow? Forever? Until man claims the greatness of their intention? Then, and only then, I can have my peace? The tears stopped flowing and I turned. Peace? What could peace possibly mean? Seems more like an item purchased becoming the person themselves. Afterwards, enduring emptiness is all that can be felt. Nah, not peace. Not for me. I found peace once. I looked at Bear. His eyes stayed on the screen, so I looked elsewhere. Anywhere but here. Believing I saw the room beginning to crowd. Intent listeners, believers, and dreamers filled our underground home. I spoke my truth as far as I could see it. Stoned as a motherfucker, I continued. I was sitting out of the snuffy, sipping on gin, watching the river run. Flakes bigger than me started falling. Landing on my arm, my hair stood up on end. I watched as the flakes melted. "'Cause your blood is 97.8 degrees, he turned to me, for the first time in a long time. That ain't peace. I hadn't finished and now felt no need. He swallowed whatever hope I had and shouted out what was our life. It wasn't always like this. I couldn't remember before. We used to live above ground, and liquor wasn't consumed as a life force. But now our habits have consumed the lives we knew, becoming our singular truth. Limited time only, the TV blared. Dude, one day I'm gonna get me that pillow. Bear's eyes wide, turned on our largest screen. They say it lasts forever. Nothing lasts forever. I do. I've lasted forever, I still remember saying. You're a trickle in time. You'll never last. He cracked open a new beer, immediately consuming its entirety. I've been here from way before you, and I'll last till the very last moon, were words never said. I wasn't the confident one. That was Bear's role. His anger grew alongside my comfort and silence. Two trees growing side by side, his stole all of the sunshine. So I found contentment under the moon's light. I can still remember us entangled under that evening light, seemingly a lifetime ago. We laid out on a fresh-cut lawn, sober, a foot away from one another. We talked about the moon and how it seemed to shine for just us two. We dreamed it came close. Then we'd climb aboard and set sail. Seeing the universe through and through, we discover every crater left in the moon. Then he turned and smiled. I smiled too. The moon stayed tight in its orbit and he touched me. On my leg, on my thigh, or a hand on cheek, a finger through my curls. I stared at his face, younger than now. Cracks not as deep. Chisel lines now were just a passing phase then, and I wondered what could this possibly bring. He was so sure I was not. He pulled me in close and I imagined myself weightless. Then his lips on mine, more moist than I had imagined. I held my lips closed tight, unsure of the moment. Bear was my first, and now I believe my last. His body large, his presence larger than any moment in time. He stood so sure of his second coming. Flight seemed possible within his orbit. In that moment, suspended anticipation, I saw the paths that intersect, the choices needing to be made and the consequences thereof. Laid out in front of me like a map slightly frayed. Couldn't be sure of the end destination. So instead, I imagined our dreams coming to fruition. Cracking my lips ever so slightly, I let him in. Moon? He said or asked. The moon's left us behind. It's just you and me stuck in this crummy universe. What about our dreams from yesternights? When we believed our history should be etched in stone. History in stone? Not ours. Our lives aren't worth the ink. The fan in his corner rattled semi-ceremoniously, blowing warm, heavy air. It smelled stale, lifeless. Is that what you think? Bear's eyes moved from screen to screen, capturing the images thrown our way by algorithms that know our every intention. Eventually his eyes on mine, seemingly distorted, a little gray. Yeah, he said, and then turned up the volume on the TV. If history repeats, then call me the fool, because I read this script and been cast in this part one too many times before. I dumped more vodka into my glass and set the plastic bottle with clear contents back on our single table, foldable, for easy storage. Bear held a beer, then it went down his mouth, and all of a sudden he gave a shout. It was screeching with pain embedded within. He's calling out his every last sin. Horrific and articulate, a confession honorable and showing. Priests themselves would bow their heads in reverence. Understanding this man harbors every ounce of pain the world has thrown his way. They'd stand in pews reciting hymns in a broken melody. A melody to be sung, but not all that often. Guilt-ridden, it reminds them they haven't achieved the Jesus they could be. Surrounded by memories of suffering, I imagine them standing silent, watching Bear confess the sins he had no hope of correcting. I knew my role. I just listened with patience and practice, envisioning him as something worth having. 2 for 1, a deal of a lifetime, the TV reminded us. Did you hear that? His screaming succumbed. A deal of a lifetime, where's my phone? He stumbled forward and then back. Did you even hear what they're selling? It don't matter, they have what I want, and at the end of the day I'd rather have than want. Is that true? Why wouldn't it be? To want is to need, and to need is to rely on another. That's not for Bear. I rely on no one, because to have is to own, and to own is power. I am power. Don't you remember? Power for what? Power from what? Power is power. Now give me your phone. Shouting, his eyes recognized my device held near. His hand reaching towards mine, I blurted, I need to get away from this. All of this. His hand fell limply to his side, like ice cream abandoned on a summer's day. Not from Bear. Slurring, his beer breath torched my eyebrows, lashes. My entire face seemed to blaze. Bear? I haven't seen you but once. Now it just seems a haze. A foggy outline resembling your professed truths before life became this muddled maze of alcoholic fantasies. Before you seemed to hold a truth that you couldn't stay silent about anymore. But now I don't know if there's a truth you believe. Truth? I am truth. I am reality front and back. When you see me, you see mankind mounting a lion, gripping power by the nape of a mane. I am the only truth you need. You're drunk. No, I am man. I am all men, children and the sons of gods too. I am the very essence of you. I believed that once. You believe that now. He sat back down on his 5-gallon bucket. I heard a happy squeal from outside and believed without seeing that children still played in the streets, that they imagined worlds far away from here where history doesn't repeat and days start anew, a world where they still believe in the sacredity of their youth, or of another place where the children think nothing of any of it, where they play only for pleasure's sake, refusing the best of technological innovations, claiming simplicity could best a life full of tribulations. I imagine a world where I can cry and he can exist without intoxicants. I need to escape, I repeated. Where can you go that I will not be also? I'm every molecule of being, every life you've seen, all the oxygen in the ocean, streams, and air. I'll exist on vodka. It's easier for me. My body gave a shake. I finished my glass. Ha! Vodka for you, you're a lightweight. You'll fall right off your feet and come crawling back. Even so, shouldn't I try? I tried to smile, but forgot how. What's the point of all this has been done? His eyes twitched from screen to screen, never quite landing on me. Been done? By who? Surely not me or you. All I've seen is the flimsy bottom of this American dream. Don't say that word. You know what I mean. America, that which is etched in the very fabric of my being. To utter its name is to tell a lie, one that recognizes the very essence of its shame. I am America, and I'll hold that shame. I need to go, to drive away. Can't you understand? My hand shook, hotter than before. Dumping more vodka into my glass, the excess spilled onto the floor. Why? No world exists outside these walls. His eyes more serious than I would ever dare admit. He looked at me. I looked at him and saw this basement as bears deserved tomb. Our dreams of different worlds still colored the walls. We drew to remember that what was wasn't what had to be. But after years, the images began fading. The mountains drooped and the oceans receded. Back to the birth the streams and lakes gave. The water scurried back up the hillsides, ashamed of what it believed it could be. It seems silly now to think that a place could change the choices we made every day. I would have accepted ignorance if only it came with bliss. So instead, I imagined Bear in an orange robe, sitting in some public square. Tourists would rummage about, taking photos of a 19th century man carved into granite, riding a horse while holding a gun, in honor of the past we've tried so hard to forget. The statue stood confidently in the center of the square, alongside fountains spraying recycled water. Children splashed about. There, I imagined Bear, sitting, finding his peace, his arms crossed, elbows on his knees, his head down. The tourists would fail to see Bear, silent on the ground. No sign sat near his feet. He's content alone, with only the chaotic rumblings of his former beliefs. Eventually gasoline could be smelled, and the sound of a match scratching, then lighting. In my fantasy, a smile formed on Bear's lips. Then the flame engulfed him. To my mind, his smile only widened. Is this it? Is this all for you? My eyes knew kind of worried. Why would I, the bear, want anything else? He sunk further into his bucket chair. You could come with? I said it as a question, but knew the answer. Come? To where? Where in this world will you find what you seek? If I had known what I sought, it would have been easier to find, but all I knew was a need for other. How can I know if I don't try? I asked. To try is to accept failure. To fail is to die. How many more deaths can you survive? He drained a beer, then cracked another. Aren't you still alive? Aren't we still alive? Is that what you call this? This is the moment we've all been waiting for. How much more life do you need? His eyes returned to the TV. Bear? It doesn't get any better than this. His eyes remained on the TV, beer going down his mouth. Bear? Stay tuned to find out what everyone's talking about. His eyes stayed glued, remote in hand. Bear! Desperation clung to my voice. Desperation not only directed towards him, my needing to understand him, but me also. Needing to know what kept me here. Don't move. We'll be back in 60 seconds. What? His face turned, his eyes fierce. They're going to be right back. Who, Bear? Us. We'll be back. That's what they said. We are them and they are us. For how long? I had been them from forever and for the first time felt the need for a break. For how long? Time does not exist within truth. We are truth's offsprings. We are them, can't you see? They made this all for you and me. When reality falls, eternity will come at his beckoning call, and you'll see all the truth you need. His head twitched back to the screen. All this can be yours today with... His eyes twitched back to the screen. All this can be yours today with free expedited shipping. He looked back up at me, but it wasn't his eyes, not his face. A vacant expression he wore, while a deathly cold smile formed on his lips. He reached for his wallet, pulling out canceled or maxed out credit cards by the handful, and called the number on the screen. I watched him rattling off number after number, card after card, and for a moment I needed to believe this wasn't really Bear, that he wasn't here, that he escaped and all this was only a fractured dream, that in reality I'm talking to myself. I'm above ground. I dreamed of an ocean sprawled beneath my feet. The waves would crash against the beaten shore and I would pray to a God I've forgotten for another. The simple pleasure of being made small, I'd once and for all understand my place in the universe at large. But before the belief took hold, he set the phone down, exhausted at his failed attempts, brought me back with the sound of a crack, a new beer opening. He swallowed and asked, "Do you need a beer?" "A beer? Where have you been?" "I'm right here. I've always been right here." That was as true as truth gets. He was always right here. "If you're scared, I get it," I said, desperate to extend grace or just to see its possibility. "Scared? Can you believe in fear? Because I can't. I can't hold on to it for a moment. We're all scared. It's okay, Bear." "Okay? How can any of this be okay? The acceptance of fear, the height of ambition? No. It's not okay." "It could be." "How? Within your naive belief in escape, your childhood sense that a place can erase our previous wrongs? A place doesn't change much. It's only a reminder that there's one fewer possibilities for escape." My eyes see his, further removed in the deepest recesses of anyone's mind. I couldn't remember where I lost him. I needed to know where he's been because that's where I was also. But we never left this damp, musky basement. Never lacking a sound, we lived with screens we embodied. So if history repeats, then at least I know which path I'm on. "Call in the next 30 minutes and we'll double the offer." The TV desperately beckons. He looked towards me, but not at me. His eyes glossy, hazy, like a car window after a crummy wash. He had the eyes of an alcoholic. We were alcoholics. My eyes followed his across the room. He looked from screen to screen and past our failed aspirations drawn on the walls. Drawn to remind us that all these walls could be broken down, but now they served as shitty remnants of a hope that I couldn't drown. Eventually his eyes landed around my periphery, and I saw nothing but a broken soul. For a moment I believed he'd melt, pull a Benjamin Button but on crack. I swear I saw him aging in reverse, becoming an adolescent, a child and an infant, lying on the ground. Whimpering and sputtering, I needed to see him cry the tears he'd forgotten how. "You don't have to be strong, you know." "Strong?" He said. "I am strength," while humans decay from man-made innovations, promising a life easier than the rest. Convenience for simplicity's sake. Value within our comforts. These are the staples of a life well lived. I'll stand firm when the mountains collapse, when the seas rise and American enterprise gets washed away. I tried again. "You don't have to be strong." His beer went up and then down his gullet. Holding the now empty can above his head, he crushed it in his bare fist, then tossed it, bouncing against the forgotten ocean-covered walls. His eyes turned towards mine. Directly and suddenly, they're as clear as the earth's sky on one of those rare fall nights when Orion stood on the horizon. My father had held my hand, tracing the outline of the hunter. He'd call every star by its name and recite the legends of old. He'd recall before Orion stood among the stars, he was brazen and wild. Hunting bears and mountain lions, his ego grew, threatening to slay every last beast for no reason other than he believed he could. Therefore, somehow the logic grew. So what he could do became what he should do. Then Zeus decided to calm the overzealous man and sent him up to the heavens, reminding us that our strengths are few. That folly is never more than a step away. My father reminded me that our only threats are the things too easily seen. His eyes still passing through mine, I wish they'd revert back to his screen. "I am strong. his voice softer, not quite as deep. You don't have to be. I am strong, a cadence building. I looked at him, his eyes no longer on me, but directed at a nothing that neither one of us could see. Vodka filled to the brim and spilt over. My hand shook, even with all the liquor consumed. Somehow I knew this to be my breaking point, that one more night in the dungeon would squash whatever hope remained of something other. Never before have the savings been this good. Don't be left behind. Neither of us turned this time. I am strong, he repeated, then again and again. I am strong. I am strong. He built it into a rhythm, like a mantra from old, where monks or priests say the same lines, expecting a little touch from grace. The mattress squeaked while the sun shined through the drawn shades. In a different reality I had already left, long ago before any of this became routine. But in this reality I've stayed, for no reason other than I'm terribly lonely and slightly afraid. The children's shouts and murmurs sounded like freedom in the streets. His mantra continued, a mantra which only he could possibly believe. His pitch stayed steady, his words slightly slurred. I approached him. He did not flinch, didn't seem unnerved. I touched his arm, his body warm, and for a second I believed sobriety could be within reach. I raised to his height and touched my lips to his sunken cheek. The hair on my upper lip bristled against his 6-day shadow. I am strong, his eyes on the same nothing. My mouth an inch from his ear, I say barely loud enough for either one of us to hear. I know. I had loved you before. I want to believe I heard him miss a beat. But wait, we're not done yet, the TV screamed. I grabbed my half-full plastic bottle of vodka and hurled it against the screen. I am strong. He's back on beat. I looked at him, in order to forget him, and turned to leave. All the years flashed before my eyes, and for a moment I saw the path which led me to this very stitch in time. It wasn't all him. I played a part and should be blamed. Allowing the choices to make themselves, I grew content in the shallowest form of hell. If I tried, I really believed I could break free, find the dream drawn on the walls, escape this place where we've grown complacent with a life wasted. I am strong, he reminded me. I knew he could be, but also knew he wouldn't. Knew from experience over forgotten years that simplicity will ground you and distractions become you. I am strong, he said. I know you're not, but I believe you could be, were words left unsaid. I took the first step towards the door, believing the next would follow. If I could breathe the outside air, I could imagine again. Begin to believe in the me without the him. And if he remained, I could come to grips with a life lived with this piece of shit. You couldn't harbor all the blame, but it seemed easier than to shoulder the weight. So a foot towards the door, and sure enough, one step followed another. If I could take him with me, I wouldn't. I'd rather open up the dam and let the water engulf. I would rather open up the dam and let water engulf him. I would be lying if I said I turned. Lying if I said I wished him nothing but the best. My hand in midair, reaching for the handle, my vodka I had left on the table. I noticed my hand no longer shook. My hand steady, my feelings sure. I knew once I walked out that door that nothing remained for me to come back for. Knew he'd stay in his very same state. He'd rather let a life pass him by than to try one more time. I grew content with failure, knew it better than success. So fear of failure went out the window and I walked out the door. Knowing nothing but the sun still shined and wanting nothing more but to see children playing in the streets. Content within their existence, relief would rain down over me. Realizing years spent didn't have to mean years wasted. By breaking free, I could begin to see the me that had faded beyond all memory.